got to make do with what we got right now. So.
And I want to let everyone know that we will start recording now, and we'll also go live streaming on YouTube just starting now, and the meeting will get started.
Very good. Hi, Alvin. How are you? Hey, Scott. How are you?
Hey, Scott.
Hi, guys.
I haven't seen you all, even digitally, in a bit.
You can do the honors, Jonathan, whenever you're ready.
Sounds good. Hold on one sec. Let's see. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's kick things off. So, firstly, welcome. Thank you for coming tonight, everybody, to CB14 Youth Services Committee meeting. I'm Jonathan Judge. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Youth Services Committee meeting, along with my colleague Dwayne Joseph. Dwayne, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone.
Tonight, normally we do introductions roundtable, but we'll probably just dispense with that since everybody could see everybody's names in their panelist side menu. So with that said, tonight we're going to continue the discussions around our Youth Leadership Council that we just approved at our last community board meeting, which we're very excited about. And we have some of the applicants for the YLC joining us tonight. We'll figure out, make space to hear a little bit from them and include them in part of the conversation because we're excited to have them here. And of course, we want to know more about what they're hoping for as we develop this process. And after that, we're going to continue to finalize the details for our 2021 youth conference, which we're aiming for in May. But as you will hear, there may be a reason to. Well, I don't think it will be logistically possible, but there may be a reason to think about that a little bit more carefully. But with that said, I guess we'll start off with the Youth Leadership Council planning. But before I do that, I want to acknowledge Detective Scott Nuzzi from the 70th Precinct. We're always glad to see you here. Community Affairs of the 70th Precinct, along with the NYPD Explorers, are an integral part of our youth conference in the normal times, and we're very glad to always have you here for our meetings and part of this conversation. And I think we have Officer Joseph as well. Is that correct? And I don't know if I'm missing anybody else in the equation here.
We've also been joined by Officer Reyes from the 70th Precinct as well.
Very good. Thank you for joining us, Officer Reyes.
And Sergeant Velez is on there too. I don't think he says the sergeant on there, so you could see it.
No, I think he's on the phone.
It might have been a different layout, but we got a couple people logged in. So on behalf of all of us, I thank you for inviting us, and we're here to get any information, help out in any which way possible. So I'm glad we're here, and hello to everybody. I haven't seen anybody, so on behalf of Inspector Wall, I'm glad everyone's doing good. We're still here working. We don't see each other that much, but you guys got a number. Officer Joseph's my new partner. You guys know Detective Walker moved on to bigger, better things. She retired, so we're still here working. Officer Joseph's here. Sergeant Velez is logged on, and Officer Reyes is the youth officer. So we hope we can collaborate with any kind of future events, okay?
Thank you much, Anya, are there any other people we should recognize or acknowledge at this point that I'm not aware of on the list?
Now, I want to make sure that I've acknowledged all of that. We are joined by 4 YLC members at this point. I'm not sure if I mentioned also Amber Hoke. So there's 4 members on the line. We have Amber Hoke, we have Gabrielle Hoke, Miranda Sam Joseph, and Angus Parkhill.
Terrific. Thank you for joining us tonight. In terms of the Youth Leadership Council, as a quick update, and Dwayne, feel free to interrupt at any point, but what we have definitely decided on as of our last meeting was how we were going to proceed, who would be eligible. We have a form on our website, which obviously we're getting applicants filling in the form. Basic parameters have been very much like joining as a community board member, which is you have to have some interest in the district, including in this case, let's say going to school in the district, and that district is Community District 14, or otherwise live in the district or have a significant interest in the district. And the goal of the Youth Leadership Council is to provide an opportunity for the young people in our district who are teens and young adults, since it goes from 14 to 20, to learn more about Community Board 14, to partake in the committee meetings and learn about how community boards get work done on behalf of the district residents, and to formulate their own plans of action for matters of interest that concern them, and most importantly, to weigh in on our annual youth conference. So that's sort of the general purpose of the Youth Leadership Council. And so the office is currently taking applicants and is reviewing those applicants as we go forward. Dwayne, do you have anything you'd want to include on that? And if you have
No, I would just still encourage all of our board members and our applicants for the Youth Council, if you are aware of any young people that want to engage, want to participate, that might be interested, please direct them to the site, have them, fill out the application. And because we want to get as many young people involved in this. As you all know, the hope is that the folks that are with us tonight, the young people that have joined us tonight, once they get involved with the board, we hope they become the next generation of community board members and civically engaged people in the community. So I just, I encourage you all, get onto the site, share the link whenever and wherever possible.
Terrific. And Anya, I have a question for you, and I know we're waiting for Sean, who's coming from another meeting. Are there any particular updates administratively about the process since we last spoke at our last meeting in February? Anything office-wise to share, other than obviously we have these great applicants that have been coming in?
Yeah, no, I think the next step was just to invite these great applicants to join the meeting and give them a chance to introduce themselves and see what some of the ideas are for the Youth Leadership Council going forward.
Terrific. So yeah, I would love to give the applicants who join us tonight a couple of minutes each to join us in just introducing themselves quickly, and maybe say, I guess, do you live in the district or do you go to school in the district? And maybe the one or two things that you were hoping to get out of the experience as being part of our Youth Leadership Council. Does that sound like a reasonable thing, Dwayne? Do you have anything you want to add to that?
I think that's very reasonable. I'd love for you guys to participate. I see a couple of people smiling like they're ready to do it. I see a smile on Gabriella's face and Miranda Sam's face. So I hope they'll engage.
Yeah, and again, you don't have to if you don't want to at this point. If you just want to listen in, but we would love to hear from you if you want to share. So I'm trying to see who wants to go first of our applicants. Just your name, and do you live in the district, and or do you go to school in the district, and the one or two things you were hoping to get out of being a part of our Youth Leadership Council. I see Amber first here. You want to go, Amber?
Hi, my name is Amber Hoke, and I live in the district. And what was the other question? I'm trying to remember.
One or two things, experiences or benefits you were hoping to, or things you wanted to accomplish in being a part of our Youth Leadership Council. What was something that you're hoping to get out of the experience?
Maybe like helping our like community get stronger, I guess. Like, I don't know, I'm trying to think. But anyway, another thing I want to add, that I'm also in 10th grade and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll get back to you on that. Sorry, I don't have an idea right now, but I'll get back to you on that.
No, totally fine. Yeah, this is just an informal conversation. So if something comes to mind, and certainly throughout the course of our meeting tonight, as we talk about different topics related to the youth conference, feel free to weigh in, and if we're weigh in, you'll weigh in next time, whatever you feel comfortable with. So thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Of course. Does anybody, any of our other applicants here wish to share? And yeah, you can include what grade you're in. That would be good as well. I can't see.
Angus has his hand raised. Oh, everyone has their hand raised now. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, go ahead, Angus, since Ani mentioned you next.
Angus, I can't hear you. Let me just make sure you're unmuted. Give me one moment. Seems like you're unmuted.
Tech issue. Can you hear me now? Sorry, tech issue. I haven't used WebEx before. I had my microphone set to the wrong thing. My bad. I'm Angus Parkhill. I'm also in the 10th grade. I live in the district. I wanted to join this because I wanted to be able to have like an impact on the community and like actually like, see like noticeable change where I live. Because I'll be like walking down the street and there's just something that I'll like want to change. Like, I don't know, where a stop sign is placed or putting another traffic light or whatever. Just like small things. And I want to be able to kind of improve people's quality of life here.
That is terrific. Thank you so much for sharing, Angus. We really appreciate your interest. And we're glad to have you here tonight. How about Miranda? Miranda or Gabrielle?
Oh, I'll go.
Okay, go ahead, yes.
I'm Miranda Sam Joseph. I live in the district. I'm in 11th grade. And I joined because I want to create more of like a community in the place where I live and also invoke positive change in where I live. So. And I'm excited to join.
Well, we're excited to have all you apply, so thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for being with us here tonight, Miranda. And Gabrielle, I think you're the last one if you want to share. And if not, I don't know if we have anybody else here. We'll leave it to Gabrielle if she's interested.
I think you're muted, Gabrielle.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi, my name is Gabrielle Hoke. I'm 15, I live in the district, and I'm in the 10th grade, and I'm really excited to be a part of this community board because I think it's really important for young people to get involved in their community. I think there's a big lack of that. So I'm really excited here to meet everyone and be more involved in the community and help in any way possible.
That's good.
That's right.
Glad
Thank you,
to have
Gabrielle.
you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So I think from again where we've left off in terms of the Youth Leadership Council discussions, we're in the middle, obviously, of receiving these applications, and we have these wonderful applicants that have joined us tonight, and there are other ones who have. I think we have 15. Am I overstating it? I mean, you're going to just tell me what number. I could have sworn it was 15, but maybe it was.
We have 7 applicants at this point.
7. Okay. I thought 7. I thought 7 was the number, but I was like, oh no, I just one more. Okay. So we have 7 right now. And so we're waiting for the applications to come in, and there will be more updates once we get a little further along in the promotion and marketing in terms of the applications that come in. But in terms of our applicants here and anybody else on the committee, are there any questions or concerns relating to what has been approved thus far? Any questions or concerns about how we move forward? Any clarifications anybody would like made, anything like that? I guess I'll open up to any hands that might be raised. I think I see Sean's hand up. Is Sean here?
Hi,
Louisa.
sorry I was
Hi.
late. Just to introduce myself to the people, our Youth Leadership Council applicants, my name's Sean Campbell, and I'm the district manager at Community Board 14, and I just want to disabuse you of any notion that a stop sign is a small thing. We do a lot of stop sign requests, and they're big things, and they take a lot of persistence on the part of the staff. And so I'm really excited to get youth perspective going on our community board, and just appreciate that you all didn't just say because you're all old and you need us, but we're really looking forward to working with you all. And I think that just the perspective that you can bring to this board is extremely valuable, because we always are looking toward the future, looking ahead, and that's you all. So please, forgive the fact that we're flying by the seat of our pants a little bit, and we so appreciate that you've stepped up, and the fact that this isn't super laid out with bricks and mortar means that you have a lot of input into how we formulate next steps. So please hang in there with us, chime in whenever you'd like, and you don't have to only come to youth service committee meetings. Come and poke around and be curious about all of the committees, because at some point the idea is to ensure that everybody on the Youth Leadership Council is a liaison to a Community Board 14 standing committee. So I hope I didn't repeat anything that was already said. I'm just really excited, but I'll mute myself anyway.
No, thank you, Sean, because you summed up more succinctly what I blabbed earlier, and it helped to reinforce the point, which is even better. So I really appreciate you emphasizing those points. So thank you, and I'm glad that you're here now.
Sure, and because there are 7 of you, just everybody grab a friend, and I suspect we'll be getting more as the school is back, kind of more back in person than it was when we started. But spread the word and encourage your peers to join us too.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, so again, as I said, we're going through that process, waiting for applications to come in. So I don't know if there's a desire to do anything further right now relating specifically to the Youth Leadership Council process. Sean, I don't know if you had something that has come to mind that I'm missed or
Hand up as well.
Oh, okay. Anne, yes, go ahead, Anne, before Sean answers that.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Jonathan. It's really exciting to hear from the applicants, and of course they'll, formulate further. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. So they'll continue to move forward with what their thoughts and their particular interests are. But I just wanted to call out attention to the YouTube content. Once, for example, the young man, Angus, who was interested in the simple task, disabused of the simple task of relocating stop signs, perhaps looking around in some of the standing committee meetings to see what committee they may best feel they would want to work with, so they could view some of the archived meetings and sort of poke through those. You don't have to sit through the whole thing, but just to get a feel. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Thanks again. Looking forward.
Thank you for sharing that, Anne. That's very helpful. And of course, there will be a more formal orientation once we finalize the membership from the applicants, and there will be a walkthrough. So if you aren't ready to go through the YouTube videos yet on your own, although we encourage you to do so, you'll certainly get your CB14 101 class, and then you can dive in later on to get more depth of understanding after that. So, any other hands relating to Youth Leadership Council specifically? All right, seeing none. Any objection to move on? Sean, was there anything you wanted to add? I'm sorry, I did forget about that part.
Do you mean in terms of taking next steps with the Youth Leadership Council volunteers?
Yeah, anything relating to that I'm blanking on that we should tackle at this point?
I mean, I think if it's okay with those who are on this call now, we'll send around a a sort of survey of convenient times and see if we can kind of plan something so that you and all can be in a room with one another so you can get to know each other better. And then we'll use that as a stepping off point to start planning some meetings. But again, in the meantime, I encourage you to join in and let us know when you're coming to the other standing committee meetings in the meantime. And if that, and feel free to speak up and, you know, say if that works for you or doesn't work for you. If you have another idea of a next step that you would like to take as our future Youth Leadership Council member. Seeing none and hearing none, that's what we'll do next. We'll follow up with this group, and we'll try to get you off and running.
Okay, thank you so much, Sean. And actually, this is a great, relatively quick segue into what might be the more interesting substantive conversation, especially for our applicants with us tonight, is our 14th annual CB14 Youth Conference. So again, just for the sake of everybody who may or may not know who's on the call, in the meeting, it feels like a call, but it's anyway, we've been doing our annual youth conferences since 2008. When I was a staff member. That's how far back that is now. And the goal of the youth conference was this. We wanted to make sure that in our incredibly diverse district with a lot of new families who are, a lot of whom are from other parts of the country, other parts of the world, and there are all these resources and all these opportunities that are just really hard to get a handle on. And we wanted to make sure the young people of our district were able to access it and create a space for that to occur in one place, namely to find jobs, internships, and other opportunities for personal and professional and academic development and growth in one place at a 3 to 4 hour event each year, which we have been doing every year since, including last year. Right before the pandemic went into full swing in New York City, we were able to pull it off at Brooklyn College. And we usually get somewhere between a few to several hundred local teams and about 80 to 90 businesses, organizations, agencies who hold tables, have conversations with teens and their parents and caregivers and teachers and all kinds of iterations and combinations of young people and mentors and older people are able to have those conversations and sit through some workshops to experience mock interviews with the young BK professionals of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, which is a program that they've been hosting for the youth conference each year. So it's really just sort of like this giant event that we cobble together beautifully after all these years of practice. Seemingly effortlessly, but honestly, a lot of the effort that Sean, Anya, and the district office put into making it happen each year. And we provide that space and that opportunity for the young people of our district to get those experiences, opportunities, and to pursue things that they may never have thought of before, may never have been exposed to. Because you know what? That's what community is about. And that's the public service we think is really important to provide in addition to a holistic overall educational experience in our district. So this year we've decided we're going to go remote. It's going to be an online version of our conference, so this will be new for us. The Human Services Committee and the district office, am I right? Yesterday was the nonprofit roundtable? No, it was, right? It was. And I know that from talking to our brand new chair, Joanne Brown, at our last board meeting, that was something of an experiment as well to do it remotely. So I'm curious, maybe before we continue the conversation, since so much was going to hinge on doing a virtual event, I don't know if there's any thoughts or feedback to share from how that event went yesterday.
Hey, Jonathan, I'm also here.
good.
Yeah, I can't tell who's here anymore. Very glad to have you here.
So it went pretty well. I am a little concerned about using WebEx for the nonprofit roundtable because there seems to be a little bit of a connectivity issue for just lay people. But that was my impression. But the breakout rooms were great. The forum, in terms of like the larger room, which would have been like your what was the Flatbush YMCA, your larger room. That worked out great. But some of the concern is how accessible WebEx was for some of our attendees. They had a lot of problems getting on. So that might be something we want to discuss collectively with regards to access for young people. So that's all I have to add to this.
I would also like to mention that I thought it went very well. It was very well run. Thank you, Joanne. That was, you really did a nice thing. My only concern is it was a relatively small group compared to what we're hoping to get with the youth conference. And I just don't know how it's going to scale to that size. And I don't think there's any way to figure that out in advance, just to play it by ear and hope for the best.
I think one thing, Glenn, is that with the nonprofit group, everybody who was attending was expected to speak at some point, whereas with the youth council, in terms of presentations and workshops, there will be more of an audience function for the youth, and then to the extent that they're going to participate and ask questions, then that could be breakout rooms, but I'm still hearing your concerns, but I think that also then reinforces Joanne's cautionary tale about WebEx and really makes me lean harder toward Zoom. And I'm wondering if our younger members who are on with us tonight have any input into platforms that they use for school or social programs, or just talking with friends. If you have anything to say about what you think your peers would be more amenable toward or more accustomed to.
Well, and on that note, so maybe the first question we'll ask is this: have any of the, in terms of the Youth Leadership Council applicants for this night, have any of you attended a previous youth conference that we've hosted in person? So that would be helpful to know.
I just want to jump in here to mention that Amber posted in the chat Google Meet, and Gabrielle raised her hand.
Okay, great. Gabrielle, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that for us, our school, we use Zoom, and I think that's a pretty good platform to use. I think it's a little bit more accessible than this, although this is a great platform to use. Also, this is my first time attending one of these meetings, but it's going pretty well, so I'm glad to be a part of it.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that, Gabrielle. Angus, Miranda, have any?
Miranda has her hand raised.
And Angus as well.
I was going to add on that for school, I mostly use Zoom. And I think it's like pretty easy to use. So I think that one's for me easier.
Thank you, Miranda. Angus, go ahead.
I've used Zoom and Google Meet for school before. I think Zoom is a better platform, but it's a little harder to figure out for the host than Google Meet. Google Meet's just a very simple platform. So really I guess it's dependent on like however complicated what you're trying to do is, but I think Zoom is probably the best platform for it.
Okay, thank you very much, Angus, for sharing that.
And from Gabrielle.
Oh, also I wanted to add about Google Meet. The only issue that I can see with that is that I believe you can only use it with a Google account, a Gmail. So I'm not sure if everyone has a Gmail to be able to log on. So I think Zoom would be a more considerable option.
I would love to add a little comment. Oh, when you're done. I don't have the raise hand button as the host. I'm sorry.
It's okay. This is informal enough. Go ahead, Anya.
Okay, I just wanted, so great hearing this feedback, and I was part of the education breakout group at yesterday's conference, and several organizers of annual events were there that do regular virtual events, and it was strongly recommended to go with Zoom, mostly because students are so familiar with the platform, having used it all year for school, unfortunately. That was the biggest thing, and just the comfort and accessibility. And I think that was a great point about the Google account that Gabrielle just made as well.
Thank you, Anna. I do think what's interesting is normally when we do this event in person, we try to factor in the school calendar, We certainly wanted to factor in timing because of the school schedule. We try to work within the confines of what for most of our attendees will be their academic obligations and make it as convenient as possible. And so this is interesting because probably most schools, I can't, out of the 4 applicants we have tonight, are any of you, are all of you in a public school, a charter school, a private school? I'm just curious and to see if everybody's using Zoom or I don't know if there's any diversity in that regard. Feel free to just chime in. It's okay.
My sister and I, we both go to a Catholic school. It's
Okay.
an all-girls school. The name of it is St. Saviour's. And we back and forth to go from Zoom and Google Meet. So those are the 2
Gotcha.
platforms we use.
Is Google Meet like the backup platform if something goes wrong with Zoom? Is that why? Or is it that Google Meet offers a different set of features?
Google Meet is more of the primary platform that we use, and then sometimes if it doesn't work, then we'll jump onto Zoom. So whichever one, preferably, the teacher really decides. But there isn't really a preference. They're kind of the same.
Okay, thank you. That's actually very helpful to know. Angus, Miranda, the public, private, charter?
I go to private school and we mostly use Zoom. We also use Google Meet if Zoom doesn't work. If it's like not working, we'll go on to a Google Meet.
Interesting. So the opposite. Zoom is a backup in the other school and Google Meet's a backup in your school. Okay, good to know. Angus?
I go to private school. I've used Zoom all year. I've never had a problem with it. We've never had to use like a backup system or anything. Last year I went to a public school though, and we started off with Zoom and then we switched to Google Meet for some reason.
Okay. I do believe there was, I think, a legal issue with privacy with Zoom, and I think that's why the schools might have bolted from it for a while. That's clicking with me. Okay. But with that said, I mean, granted, we were hearing from different private schools, but Zoom is fairly ubiquitous. And so Zoom may be the best platform because everyone probably has universal experience. I know that DOE schools are using Zoom for everything, I think still. I think now they are for sure using it. So if that's the case, then that might be our best platform for the widest possible audience with the least amount of hiccups. So that might be worth considering. I don't know if anyone else has a hand raised at the moment for this part of the conversation. Don't want to miss anybody.
I just want to, if I may, I just want to make sure that, you know, whatever platform we are going to use, we need to make sure that the host computer is on a hardwired, strong internet access to limit hiccups, and that's high bandwidth. So we should actually add that to our list of needs in preparation for the event.
Excellent point.
There is Mark Moss, who's hosted our meetings and did the nonprofit roundtable. Zoom is his platform of preference, and he's done. I know he did the St. Nicholas annual event with it, and he did SWIB. I'm sorry, Avita's another organizations. They did a business roundtable. And the thing about going through a third party, it doesn't have to be him, but then we wouldn't have to worry about our licensing, because that's something that community boards had to fight for, was to get the Zoom license that allows them to have more than X number of people for more than 40 minutes. So we could maybe put that into place, but I don't know. I think it's an annual contract, so I don't know if it would work vis-a-vis our budget. I think Anya was pricing out other potential hosts for it. But we always have that as a backup, and then he's got the whole setup for the work he does.
Okay, very good. Thank you for sharing that. That would actually be a big help if we could leverage that resource of his company to do it. Is there anybody else got a hand up? Oh, Anne, I think you have a hand up. And Deborah, I see your comments here. I don't know if, okay. Yeah, go ahead, Anne, sorry.
Hi, thank you, Jonathan. So I unfortunately missed the last meeting, so I YouTubed it and watched most of it. Thank you. And I saw the idea presented of pre-recorded content in the exhibition space. And I hear that sort of reinforced with being on a loop and then have the availability for interactive zooming in and out for Q&As and different tasks like that. So does that now eclipse the idea of YouTube and Hopin that were discussed at that meeting? It sounds like Zoom is more preferred and more universal, particularly if we're going under somebody else's license, like a Mark Moss or, somebody who could support us with that. So how would that work?
Well, if I might just jump in. I mean, logistically, we still have a lot of options. We haven't narrowed anything down. We could certainly do that. We could do any number of scenarios. I think the simplest one would be certainly one where we just tell everyone to show up to a Zoom event with a registration link, and we work within the confines of that. That's the least amount of prep work, the least amount of managing deadlines, just making sure that the people who are supposed to show up in whatever way, they show up, and then that's it. And then people can come and go as they please from there. To do something else, like create a directory, have people upload their video, and then give us the link, and then we could sort of aggregate it on the website, or we could do it in like a screen share loop or something. That's a more elaborate process. I think it's a question of what we would want the experience to be. And of course, we have, we have some youth conference age people here, which would be a first, I think, for a long time, to maybe weigh in on how that experience would look. But before we do any further conversation on that, if we're settling on Zoom, and if we could definitely take advantage of the existing license, I think then we probably should just discuss what that experience would look like. Because normally what we do is we have the exhibition space with all the tables. We had breakout rooms where there were like 15-minute workshop sessions going on. But in the last year, we decided to opt out of that and just do the mock interviews, which was a whole room of one-on-ones going on at the same time in those conversations. So in fact, we had Councilmember Farrah Lewis last year, and she was a cameo mock interviewer for a group of our attendees, which is really cool. So that was a lot of fun. In terms of how we would do that with Zoom, I guess that's the question. How would we replicate that experience if we're settling on Zoom as the primary platform? Maybe we just discuss that part first. That's my suggestion. I don't know, Dwayne, do you have another thought on it?
I mean, I don't think we should decide tonight what platform to use. I think we need to still build out a framework of what the event should look like, get some feedback from the young people on what they're looking for, maybe provide them with some information about our previous events and what we've done in the past, so they can give us input to make sure we're targeting, because this is going to be virtual. So let's make sure we're targeting the young people in a way that they're getting access to resources they actually will want to engage with. I think once we build that framework, I mean, that shouldn't take us any more than a week and a half to kind of quickly build that out, get some feedback. And then once we have that, then we know what we need from a infrastructure standpoint and whether or not we go with Zoom or WebEx or things like that. How we would do registration, if we need breakout rooms. I mean, just something as simple as those one-on-one interviews. How do we manage that on whatever platform if we decide to do that again this year? I mean, we do have to accept that we may not be able to do some of the things that we did in the past because this is virtual versus the live space. So where we can adapt and be agile in pivoting, we should consider that. But we have so far 4 young people here tonight, another 3 that have signed up. I think it would be a good opportunity once we've got them kind of oriented to do a quick survey from them. Like, what are some of the things as a young person would they want to get out of the youth conference, and also giving them some background on what we've done in the past and what our experience has been in the past.
But I agree with you on all that. My concern here is if platform
too
is
long?
going to determine the timing of what we have to do and what's going to be possible and whether that's financially possible. And so if we don't settle on the platform at this meeting and we're aiming for a May date, we're going to have a hard time setting a definitive date if the platform is in question. If the platform is still in question, then how we begin the rest of the invitation process and what everyone should expect is also going to be in question. So I think everything you said is valid, but I do think that we need to address and settle this right now, because the main factor rather in the past has been cost of the other
Yeah.
platforms. And if there's a general comfortability with Zoom, I mean, I'm very comfortable. We run all our Young BK professional meetings on Zoom. We have for over a year now. If Mark Moss has the ability to do that, and we could do like either a webinar feature or at least have the large meeting feature, and that's baked in, then and even then, I mean, maybe there's another way to do it. But if we have the access to the license and we know that more or less, then I think that we should probably just operate on that. And if there is a better way to do it, we find out, but it doesn't change any of the timing constraints or the other logistical constraints. And we can always change it outside the meeting, but if we at least settle on Zoom tonight, then we could discuss how we configure it, because I have ideas how we could do all of that, even if we just use Zoom and we don't get fancy. But if we're not going to settle on Zoom tonight, I don't know how much that's going to.
I don't think that we're talking about platforms that are so vastly different from one another. And so if we would get to sort of chipping away at the program, unless you come up with really wild ideas, I suspect either one of the platforms, all the 3 or 4 platforms that have been mentioned, can handle that. And if we turn to somebody who's used all of them and say which one would work better for this scenario, then we can come to a final decision there. But I don't think a definitive decision or not about the platform should necessarily stop you from moving the conversation about what the program looks like. And we've brainstormed this a lot. May is so tomorrow. I mean, we gotta set a date and get the ball rolling, because additional brainstorming, I think we already have almost an embarrassment of riches when it comes to good ideas. So let's hammer it out.
So how about sorry, I was just gonna say, how about we just say, can we get consensus that we rank the platforms, like right now, Zoom being the preference, WebEx being the backup, and we look at Hopin if need be? Would that work?
Dwayne. Sure. We'll go in that order. But and then you want the program to look like what? We could do, we've talked before about having 3 or 4, really curating the participants and having 3 or 4 participants each give a sort of like we did the nonprofit roundtable. Each presenter had 20 minutes, and then there was a roundtable where everybody introduced themselves, and then there were breakout rooms that were sort of topical. So that's one sort of template that we could use. The other thing is we've talked about recording presentations so that attendees can kind of go on to different ones at different times, and if you miss the first presentation, you can then do it 20 minutes later because it's recorded, is another way of doing it. Or to make all of the rooms just start with 4 breakout rooms and keep it that way, and one would be human services and the other would be education services and the other would be job training. So just to maintain 4 separate rooms at all times and allow the attendees to go in and out of those rooms. Those are 3 ideas.
Those sound like realistic possibilities. And if we did the mock interviews, that could be its own particular Zoom meeting that people could join. And then we use the breakout rooms to have the mock interviewer and the mock interviewee sit in there and swap out whenever they're done. And so we could do it that way. And that way, that's whether it's Zoom or something similar enough, which is basically every platform, like you said, Sean. Then we can always do that as well to address that need. And we could also likewise do the same thing for any other workshops. That way we could have those maybe even just separated. You have those 3 separate Zoom meetings. So to Sean's point, you mentioned have everybody sort of just do their spiel in a continuous flow and then allow for like a breakout room Q&A where people could talk privately. Then you said do pre-recorded and then also let them talk so that people could always watch it again if they missed it. And then the third one was to do it by topic, right? Just break everything out by topic and have the affiliated businesses or organizations or agencies sort of be in that room, and then anyone who's interested in that topic goes into that room and talks to people. Almost like a panel of sorts, I guess. Would that be sort of the, in a sense?
Yeah, that's a word that's descriptive. Yeah.
Okay, so if those are the
I-
options, I guess maybe this is where we could ask everyone to weigh in.
And certainly they aren't the only options. I just wanted to start getting options out so we could start to crystallize. Anya's really good. Anya's really good at pointing out. She had pointed out to me a long time ago, and it stuck with me because I thought it was a great way of looking at it. That she suggested that I was thinking about the way we had done it, and then trying to shoehorn that into a platform instead of looking at what platforms offered, and then designing the event accordingly. So I think some of those ideas came from that, and then some of those ideas are still me being stubborn about what I already know what it looks like and shoehorning again. So I don't know, Anya, if you want to edit some of my thoughts there, or if anybody else does.
Now, if anyone else wants to jump in, I think I agree with what you just said, though, that it's a matter of what we can do and then making the best use of the tools that we do have. So if we were looking at Zoom, I think those platforms are interchangeable if we switch to Google Meet for some reason. But let's just assuming Zoom for the point of conversation, what is there? Who here in this room has used Zoom for a larger event? Was it, what worked well? What didn't work well? What would be useful for especially the younger people that are here today? What would you like to get out of a youth conference? Which, if you've looked at by the way, plug the website, cb14youthconference.nyc. Go there, check it out. And I'll put it in the chat as well. But just what would be useful to you as teenagers thinking about summer jobs, or everyone else here who has a teen in their life, a young person in their life, what would be useful? Maybe it's a great time to do virtual interviews, to do practice, because that's what we're all doing right now in real life, right? Those are my thoughts.
Sure. So yeah, why don't we have our applicants for the YLC weigh in, ask any questions you might have about the existing conference and what we've done, and whatever your thoughts might be on these options. Certainly, if you've gone to any events in the last year that have been done well, and you're like, wow, they made us go to that in school, and that was really cool. I like the way they did it. We'd love to hear about that. So I'll open it up to our applicants first.
If I might, is there some way to find out what the platforms allow? We were talking about this in vague general terms, but what specifically, for example, does Zoom allow for us to do? And how do we get this information? Because that seems to me the simplest way to nail this down, as opposed to just talking around it forever.
Well, no, we do have a very good idea. We have an idea. We know how we could do private little breakout rooms. We know how to do webinar style. We know how to record it. We know how to push it to YouTube Live if we want to, or Facebook Live. We know how to record it. We have a good handle on the features. So a lot of what you're hearing us say right now, Glenn, is just based on how we've seen other people do those kinds of things with Zoom. That's the only reason why it was like, let's at least talk around one particular platform, and then we could figure out any nuances from it. But we do have a pretty good idea of what we could do. But with that said, I'm going to ask if you could hold that point. I just want to hear from Angus because I know he had his hand up.
I was just going to say one of the problems or pretty much the only problem I encountered in like one of the large Zoom meetings that we had for school was that you had to monitor everyone who came in to prevent like Zoom bombers. But I don't think that's going to really be a problem here, because it's like, I don't think anyone's going to Zoom bomb a community board meeting. But I mean, I hope not, at least. I hope not.
But that brings up a good point, though.
Yeah. Well, I think, we would still have our registration process like we normally do. And probably just because of the nature of this, Most of it might be webinar style, which means that most of the attendees who are not panelists or not like approved speakers that we know of, that we pre-vetted, people are just going to probably be part of the conversation as like an attendee. And then in order to access any of the other things, they'll need a privileged link with the password baked in. So there are a number of security features. And yeah, we even at Brooklyn College, we had to have somebody check everybody in. So we always check people in person. And so while that might be annoying digitally, but we've always sort of we always factored in the need for doing that, and a check-in table on a Zoom meeting is a lot less complicated than a check-in table at a large conference. So maybe it'll be easier. So we'll figure that. But those are
So then,
excellent
Jonathan?
points. Yeah. Sorry.
So, Jonathan, yeah, this is Carl. So you guys probably see the 7-3 too. So, hey guys, and so two things. So first, to the youth, conference applicants, awesome. Great to hear from you guys, and I wish you all the best in this. This is exciting. And then the second thing is, Jonathan and Dwayne, I don't know if you guys have thought about this yet, but I was wondering about what the staffing needs from CB14 would look like, just because in the past, right, whether it was in Brooklyn College or at the YMCA, there were people who knew to come in to help Paul and others set up the tables and then, direct traffic. Because this is virtual, the staffing needs may be different, but there's still staffing needs. So I'm wondering if you guys have had a chance to think about that yet, just in terms of what that might look like.
So, I mean, sorry, Jonathan. So, I mean, it's something that I've thought about with it being virtual. I think we would still need to have the same level of commitment from volunteers to support staff wherever possible and however possible. What that looked like, I don't know, because I wasn't sure what platform we were going to use. So, I mean, something as simple as like I have a Zoom link like any other people. And I think I pay for like a webinar level Zoom. Right now is what my subscription is. So if we need to use my Zoom for maybe mock interviews or something else, I'm happy to volunteer it. If that's something we need to do, and if I don't know what the rules are around that, Sean, privacy and things like that. I know the city gets really temperamental about that kind of stuff. So, but I think it would be the same wherever we can volunteer to help support the staff. We would just need to find out how we can do that this time around.
Okay, thank you.
There is one other possibility that might be just as easy, but less complicated. We could do a Facebook/YouTube Live for the exhibition concept, where everybody gives their 2-minute spiel. Because then we don't have to worry about who's attending and watching that. And we can do that through a Zoom meeting with all of our panelists, which would allow us to fit into a smaller room if we have to do it that way. Be maybe a little bit easier to manage. Have everyone watch it on YouTube Live, watch it on Facebook, so they can always watch it again and pick up whatever they missed without all that production in advance. And then we could still have an opportunity for Q&A with people that the presenters can hop into a separate Zoom meeting where they could do more of a chat style thing. That is another thought, instead of having to have like the large meeting option and everything, to basically pull off a lot of people just getting a taste of who they might be able to talk to and have a separate conversation with. Anyway, just a thought that way. So just wanted to throw that out. Any other comments, any other thoughts, questions about the way we might go about this approach, especially from our YLC applicants?
Gabrielle, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, hi. I really like the idea of breakout rooms. I think that can be really helpful, especially for the youth in this committee. I think that could be really helpful because I know for a lot of young people, sometimes speaking in a large crowd could be a little intimidating. So I think it would be a little bit easier for us to just to get to know each other and stuff in a breakout room. I mean, I prefer that sometimes when I'm using in school and stuff. So I think it could get a few more people talking and a few more ideas rolling and stuff like that. So I like that idea a lot.
I'll also share, I was late tonight because I was on another meeting for the task force, and they do sort of like everybody is gathered together and they're kind of given information, then everybody goes into breakout rooms to discuss it, and then somebody in that breakout room kind of has to synthesize what was discussed and then bring the main points back into the big room. So it's just a good way to share. So there might be a way of doing breakout rooms and then coming back so like the roundtable of organizations might be first, and then breakout rooms, and then just having the youth participants come back and share their takeaways as the wrap up, and you know, so that we get the real-time feedback and the real-time interaction between participants in the youth conference who can share what they took away from or learned from different organizations, and maybe team up and collaborate to do some of the events and programs and stuff together.
Interesting, Sean. Thank you.
Anya, you had a comment?
Oh, thanks. I just had a quick question, if it's possible. If you were going to do a Facebook Live or YouTube Live stream, could you then just post the Zoom link, you know, just right on that same page so that you could say, okay, click the link now, and people could just all hop off together into that room? That would work. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's sort of the cool part about that particular concept, because it still lets you have that conversation you want in real time, but then you're not worried about anything happening on video or managing a bunch of attendees and letting them in when that's not the more meaningful part of the experience. Because even if we could also say, here's another way maybe we could do it, a modification. We could maybe still grow, like we did with the colored stickers, where we had, here's the green section, the red section. We could do that by industry, or by maybe like, oh, these are the job people, these are the summer activity, whatever, however we break it down. And then we could say, if you want to ask those kinds of people more questions, you want to have a conversation, then it'll be like, here's the Zoom link to enter into that meeting after they've made their pitch during the exhibition space. And that way we can have those people live in that Zoom meeting after they've said their part in our first set of presentations. And then that's where that could be like a giant breakout session where people who are interested in those topics or in that industry could hop in and hop out of when they feel like it. So maybe that could even be a good way to sort of hybridize and bring it all together that way too.
And that would also guarantee that each room would have some trusted adult supervisors for that Zoom bond issue.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then we could also have a digital post-event survey where everyone could fill out that survey digitally right away. We get the feedback right away about what everybody thought, which people were great too. Usually, Anya has worked very hard in tabulating a lot of that over the years on pieces of paper that have come in. It's a job, so it'd be better if it were digital.
With that in mind, would we want to activate our social media pages and the web, the app that we had running last year, the mobile app? I mean, I'll say right now, I've been posting things to the Facebook page, like anything DYC related and youth related, but I don't know if the same was being done on the Instagram page.
Well, we had people help with that. We had Joe Frank last year, and a couple of years before help with that part of it on Instagram. But I would say we won't need the app because we're going to be using apps named Facebook or YouTube to do this, and Zoom. So I don't think we're going to need a separate app for this. But you could. I mean, we would be activating those channels. I mean, again, most people are using one of those or are very familiar with one of those at least. And so we kind of be working out of the box with a lot of people's comfort platforms. And so I think it'll be pretty easy to pull that particular part of it off that way. So look, if without getting too caught up in these particular details, do we want to figure out the date and then maybe the parameters of this event? So normally we never let it go beyond 4 hours. 4 hours is a long time, although people obviously can do it from their kitchen, their bedroom, their living room. So, but at the same time, 4 hours of attention is a long time, no matter how in and out it might be. do we want to pick a date? Because if we're thinking mostly Zoom with some of the more advanced features, not much logistical work has to happen. The rest of it's going to be who are we featuring, getting the applicants for the exhibition sort of presentation part. That's like we normally do, getting that out and making sure we have enough time to hear back from everybody, confirming their participation, and then marketing the registrations for our teens and young adults who would be attending the conference. So those are all really low, those are like sort of like low effort tasks that are basically the sum total of the effort that's going to need to happen versus other years. So I think maybe we could pick a date. I don't know, Sean, Sean or Anya, do you have a date in mind or a date range in mind based on how things are looking? And I know I didn't bring up the DYCD Summer Youth Employment Application deadline, but it launched today, or at least this week.
Yeah, it actually launched yesterday.
It launched yesterday.
Yeah, and the deadline this year is April 23rd. So for those new and in attendance that weren't familiar, in the past, we've kind of scheduled the youth conference to be around the opening of the SYEP application process to help facilitate young people signing up for SYEP and giving them an opportunity to hopefully get paid internships to work sites that were approved via SYEP for the summer at the very least. So this year is a little bit different. They did it on time. So always
That's
a hiccup.
the only thing the city has ever done on time. I don't know. Wait, I should have said that.
So with that in mind, I mean, do we want to consider, we were looking originally at a early May date. Do we want to consider a late April date?
Can we?
I don't.
I would say
I don't. I mean, Anya and I have already put the April meeting calendar together, and it is chock full. And with holidays early in the month, we're really breaking a sweat getting our bylaws obligations met with committee meetings, and we've got some public hearing pressures that are going to be coming up with potential public facilities, and so that it just worries me, especially since we're in unknown territory in terms of the platform, that putting it into action that quickly, it just gives me a quality concern. Having said that, if that's what the committee wants, we work for you. we'll figure it out. But I still, and I also think, to be honest, that the SYEP motivation has decreased a little bit, given that the program isn't what the program was, and the numbers aren't going to be what the numbers were. So in order to hurry up to get this done, in order to meet a lottery deadline, just doesn't really feel, I just don't have that same sense of urgency about SYEP, although that is clearly a self-serving opinion. So so I said my piece, and I am going to have to jump off this meeting to get to a 7:30 and be late to another meeting. So I put that out there. I will defer to the committee. I know Anya and I have been sharing a brain all year, so I think she'll help figure it out. But I'm becoming increasingly uncomfortable with not having a date, and I'm hoping that date is an early mid-May date. Based on previous conversations, that's kind of what we've talked about, is like, maybe that second full week of, second full week of May, just because it's sort of like far enough in advance of when school ends. But we kind of push it off also to see if we could engage some of our YLC candidates. So that's still where my brain has been.
Of course. Sean, thank you. I know probably why you have to go to the next meeting, and I wish you luck. I know it's going to be an issue and a half. That's an issue that's been going on for years, decades.
For the record, I do love my job.
Yeah, good. Good. You have to be doing this. So God bless you. We're rooting for you, and I'm sure we'll be able to figure it out, because I concur with you about the SYEP not being the linchpin, certainly because it's so unpredictable. I think we could accomplish a lot and use it as a marketing tool for the conference, even if we plan the conference date later then, because I think it's an opportunity to, and then we can have a DYCD tell people even after the fact why it's so great so they can pay attention to it the next go round. You know, this isn't going to be the only time we ever get to have a summer youth employment opportunity. So
Super.
I'm okay.
And Amber and Angus and Miranda and who am I missing? Gabrielle, please be in touch with us if you have any questions following up this meeting. We're really looking forward to working with you. And everybody else, good night and thanks.
Thank you, Sean, so much.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
So,
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Anne had a hand up.
Oh,
Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you, Dwayne. I think Jonathan touched this, and Sean certainly did as well. But we can send out the link to the SYEP application in advance and hold our meeting later. So, you know, we can still promote it, but it doesn't have to be totally predicated upon our dates as we were more motivated. So, you know, I would hope that if Sean and Anya prefer that second week in May, why don't we try to choose a date now so that we can target something? Just putting that out there, those two things. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. I concur. And also, the reason we always wanted it to coincide because we thought since DYCD brought the computers and they could apply there in person, they wouldn't miss the chance to get the application in. But I mean, everything is digital today. The value add of that isn't going to really be as applicable. So if there's ever a year where it might make sense to not put those two together as strictly, this might be the year to definitely consider doing something.
And I'm certainly not tied to it. I just wanted to bring it up because, you know, it's something we've done in the past. So I'm certainly not tied to it. If other committee members are okay with us going forward with our original plan to look at a mid-May date, I think we should just look at that week and see whether it's going to be a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday that week.
When we're saying that, are we saying second full week or third full week?
Yeah, the second full week. The second full week, because we might lose people as we tail into Memorial Day weekend. So I'm thinking the week of the 9th, so the 11th, 12th, or 13th. If we need to, we can push it into.
Just wanted to jump in to say I just pulled up the DOE school calendar, and it looks like May 13th is Eid al-Fitr, so school's officially closed. May 31st is obviously Memorial Day, and spring week ends April 2nd, so that shouldn't affect us at all. But just that May 13th Thursday is something to definitely be aware of, and of course Fridays aren't the best option.
Right. So what about?
Joanne, I think put something. It can't be the 12th of May. I don't know why. I don't know if you want to share, Joanne, but I'm okay with it if it can't be the 12th.
I thought that Eid was on the 12th, according to my calendar.
And I mean, it may start before as well.
Well, I mean,
so
just
I guess DOE is observing it on the 13th. That's why I said the 12th. But if DOE is observing it on the 13th, then the 12th is fine.
well, taking into consideration families might be preparing for Eid.
Yeah.
Right. So, why don't we say
Is the 19th terrible?
the 11th, 18th, 19th, or 20th?
Is the
I mean,
19th?
I would just jump into the next week, to be quite honest with you.
Why
And
not
say the 19th.
Sorry. Right, but what about Sean's very polite request that we settle in the, she wasn't moving it down the calendar that far. She sort of mentioned that second week. So if the 12th families are preparing and the 13th is the school holiday, how about the Tuesday, the 11th? That way, if there's a glitch on a Monday that we have to do something to sort out or unpick, it may give us that little bit of grace. It's just a thought.
I would push back myself a little bit on that, just because sensitivity around like major holidays is, you know, is there's a lot of preparation. I don't know if families will be traveling. You know, this year is a big year with COVID. We just don't want to overlap. That would just be my only thought. If the committee decides on that date, that's fine. But, you know, just to maybe avoid that week, like we do with Easter. We would normally have a meeting this Monday after Easter, but we did not schedule it that Monday in April because Easter Sunday, people are maybe away doing other things. So in that same respect.
So what about the week prior? Cinco de Mayo or the 6th? I mean, it's a youth. I know that. I mean,
What's wrong with the 19th or the 20th?
well, what Anna's saying, it pushes it. What Anna's saying is that it will push later, a week later into the month.
No, what Anne's saying. Yeah, sorry. I thought you said on.
No,
what
that's not what I'm saying. Sean mentioned the second week. She said the second week, maybe the first or second.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the way she put it. So
Right.
I'm picking up a cue from that. But if Anya, you and she share a brain, then I defer to your, I defer to your brain. All right. So
I'm gonna say pretty much that, just with the idea of not pushing it too far. But I do think that what I checked, it looks like June 25th, if any students can confirm this, might be the last day of the school year. So that's quite a bit of time, you know, if we're looking at the third week of May. But I would think, and just given the amount, I mean, honestly, when we prepare in person, we start preparing all of this physical reality in January, February, and given that it's March 24th, and I'm thinking we do have a new staff person, so that's going to be great to bring them in and help out. But given that none of us have ever done this before, Zoom is, I know John said it was not a heavy lift, but for me, this is a lot. So I know John's going to be there to help out, and everyone else. But, you know, just given that, I would say pushing it a week back versus a week forward seems better.
So I'm gonna put it out on the floor for a vote for the 19th of May.
Okay.
Oh, you're actually going to give us some say in something, huh?
No,
Listen,
not
I
usually.
for the meeting, but I do have two comments. One is you had 20 some odd people on this meeting, and you basically engaged none of us. I asked a question earlier about Zoom. What is the platform capable of? And Jonathan, you kept saying, well, you know how to do this and this and this and this. That doesn't answer the question, which means that I am not capable of making any kind of a determination as to what the best approach is. So since the three of you seem to know how to do this, that is Sean, Anya, and you, make a decision and put it out there. But just talking about it to death when none of us know what you're talking about isn't helpful. I have to go run another meeting. Pick something. All right.
Thank you for your input, Glenn.
I do not know what I'm doing. Just putting that out there. Sorry if I overspoke. Just my question.
And Glenn, I do apologize if we didn't. Oh, he logged off. But Glenn, once you watch this later, I do apologize for not getting back to your question.
But with that said, a fair amount of us do have familiarity with Zoom, and some of the sketch of what we've been talking about seem to click. And of course, if there are any questions as we go forward, now that we have a little bit more clarity on how we might go about it, we certainly can have those conversations either now or at another time if anyone has questions about it. And we understand this is a new change for us, so there may be a lot of people who are not familiar with how this might work out. But those of you who are zoomed out like I've been, you feel like you've been doing it your whole life at this point. So I'm sure this is going to be an adjustment period just for all of us to sort of get on the same page with it. But with that point, Joanne, your question is on the floor about choosing Wednesday, May 19th. Any comments?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Any feedback on that? Anyone? So can we take a quick vote just to show of hands? If anyone has any objections to that date, just raise your hand. I see one of our young people that hasn't.
Can you repeat the date, please?
The date would be Wednesday, May 19th.
I know some people have practiced SATs and ACTs on that day.
practice SATs and ATs. See, this is something we would not have known unless we had a young person on the phone.
Is there a time frame? Because usually we hold this event 3, 4 o'clock to like 7 o'clock. Would that seem to conflict, or would that might that work?
I'm pretty sure they're set for the mornings, but there are probably also different time slots that different people take them. And I know a lot of practice tests will be going on around that time, so I can ask around some of my friends, see if when they're taking it. But as far as I'm aware, I don't think it'll be a problem if it's later in the day.
And would the 20th be a better day, or is it just that week might be an exam week?
I think that the 20th would be fine for that. Again, I know that I'm taking the practice SAT on that day, and I know a few other people are, which is why I brought it up, but I think it'll probably be okay if you set it later in the day or the other day, but I can ask around and make sure.
Okay, we appreciate that. I mean, maybe we could, may I just make a friendly amendment, Dwayne, to that
Sure,
motion? Which
absolutely.
is, let's see if the 19th or the 20th, and we sort of let Sean and Anya figure out if one day happens to just be better, since it's not that much of a difference in timing.
Sure, that works
that,
for me.
And if one day is better for any students right now for school reasons, we could just happy to go with that. Whatever works the best for you.
Before we move the conversation forward, Alvin has his hand raised. Alvin? I think you're muted, Alvin. We can't hear you.
I'm just wondering what the dates of Ramadan are.
The dates of Ramadan.
Yes, because it's going to place constraints on Muslims.
Ramadan is in April this year, so it shouldn't affect the May date, just that Eid al-Fitr date, which is the 12th from dusk until the 13th.
Thank you.
So
we have an amended motion on the floor to consider the 19th or 20th of May. We're gonna, if everybody's okay with that, we'll make the motion to look at the 19th to 20th, and with considering PSATs, if that's what they're still called. I may be a little old. PSATs and maybe religious considerations. So I'm making that motion. If anyone wants to oppose, any opposed? Nina, Florencia, Joanne. Do we have anybody else on the phone?
Those sound good to me. I just checked the calendar to make sure there were no conflicts that I'm aware of. And I believe Eid al-Fitr is like the final, I think I'm right about this, the final days of Ramadan. So Ramadan is before
that would be the 12th.
Right. So that shouldn't be a problem either. For those who.
Those two sound good to me. This is Joanne.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Valencia. Those dates sound good as well.
All right, Leonie, Michelle.
Verify the 19th, though. Okay.
Do those sound okay to you guys, to you ladies?
Then
Dawn, I saw you said okay. Okay.
the 19th or 20th is fine with me. This is Anne.
Okay. So we'll circle back with Anya and Sean just to see what works best for the board, and then we'll communicate out a date to the board members and the community. All right.
Awesome. Okay, so probably also do the same thing with the time parameter, although normally it's 4 to 7 p.m. But that probably works, unless Anya, you have anything that might change that.
John, I don't know, something happened to your microphone. I just couldn't actually hear what you said. It was a little.
Is it better now? Okay, good. So the question I had for you is 4 to 7 has usually been our window of time for the event. Is there anything logistically in this digital age that we're in that might need to change that, or that's probably going to be more or less the window we would pick again?
No, that was only based on just after school students' needs, to give them time to get out of class, get a snack, get over to Brooklyn College. That's not a thing anymore. So I wonder if that is the best time. I don't know. Should it be more directly after school, or I'm not sure.
Any thoughts, or YLC applicants? 4 to 7, could it be earlier? Should it be earlier?
Miranda has a hand up.
Go ahead.
I don't think that it should directly be after school, because especially like being like on like Zoom for like the whole entire day, it could get kind of exhausting. So there should be like just like a break time for the people to join.
So
what time do you get out of class?
I know I get out of school at 3, so like having it at 4 would be good, but I don't know what time everyone else gets out. So.
Good point. Thank you very much, Miranda. Does that 4 to 7 window? I mean, again, small sample size of four current high school students, but does that 4 to 7 window run up against anything for anybody else who's here? And feel free to just speak at this point if you have something to say.
The window is fine. I get out also at 3, so that works pretty well for us as well.
Cool. Very cool. And what about you, Angus? That also works?
Yeah, I get up pretty early, so it should work for me.
Okay. All right. So probably working within everybody else's school parameters for the most part. So, okay. Okay. So we'll aim for that window. If for some reason we have to modify it, we'll probably just try not to make it much earlier than 4, but we'll probably keep it to that window. Again, unless there's any other feedback or comments on that part.
Okay. Not hearing much.
All right. Now, and this definitely applies to our YLC applicants and for anyone else in the call. Normally, what we do at this point is the office prepares an invitation letter to all the businesses and nonprofits and agencies that we've invited in the past 14 years. We encourage them to fill out the form and to register if they'd like to apply again. Obviously, part of that is going to explain how we're doing it differently. So I'm sure offline, there'll be collaboration between me, Dwayne, Sean, Anya, and just sort of ironing out any of those details and whoever else needs to be part of the technical implementation of that. Those invitations will go out as soon as humanly possible. But it'll probably be a few days to get those details sorted out so we can tell people what to expect. What we do encourage everyone to do once we have the invitation letter out is we'll be able to send it out to everybody so we can say, hey, here's our invite. Please encourage people, businesses that are looking for summer, that are willing to take some teens for summer jobs or have internships or other opportunities. Please invite them personally to apply, because we will take new businesses, organizations, and I mean, if you have any other agency contacts, city, state, or otherwise that might want to partake, have them apply. There'll be a deadline that'll be put on there. I don't know what that deadline will be, but it'll be on that letter when it goes out. And then at the same time, more or less, we will also start preparing with the help of some of our volunteer members. So again, anyone on the YLC wants to help out with some of that work, we would love to teach you how to do some of that. We also have plenty of our committee members who have volunteered in the past to set up things like the website, Eventbrite, some of the social media work that we usually need to put together. And we will use that to promote the event to get teens between the ages of 14 and I think we did 24 last year. I think 14 to 24 was the age range. Anyway, for getting our attendees to at least register so we have a head count. And we will be looking to promote both of those things simultaneously. Given that we'll probably try to do the mock interviews, I will bring that to the young BK professionals at the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce again to make sure that everything is okay with participating again for that date on May 19th or 20th. And then I guess what we could do at our next meeting, which April 22nd works for me. Anya, sorry, I didn't get to email you back sooner. We'll have our next meeting on Thursday, April 22nd at 6:30 p.m. We can review those registrations of organizations and businesses and make any decisions that we may need to make in terms of specific programming once we see who we have and how we might want to structure that. So that'll be the main purpose of that meeting, is to then really plan any finer details about the experience of the youth conference based on what we've learned from now till Thursday, April 22nd. So certainly YLC members, we hope you could come to that meeting on the 22nd of April. And then certainly if there are any new applicants, we would love to have them. Of course, bring your friends, because anyone else who goes to school in the area or any of your neighbor friends in the community, we would love to have their feedback and participation as well. Sorry, I'm just trying to like summarize it so we kind of like have like what the next steps are going forward. But that would be the general plan of action. Invite to the organizations and businesses that would present, registration for those who want to attend, and then finalizing the program details at our next meeting on April 22nd. And all of your help in promoting it and encouraging as many people to attend or to participate in whatever way they can, whether as a business organization or just to come and attend and learn about the opportunities that are available to them. So that's my summary. Dwayne, I don't know if you have anything you want to add there.
Just one amendment. The age range that we went with last year was 14 to 21, just so we have that for the record. And you're saying that the last 2 years we were doing that?
I know it's changed, and I just didn't remember how high up we went.
So last year we definitely did 14 to 21.
Okay. I didn't remember that, but thank you for reminding me. Whatever we did last year, age range wise, I think we'll stick again. So if I've misspoken, then we'll do whatever we did last year. We'll use that as the official answer. But it was like 14. Yeah, 14 to 21 is probably what it should be.
It might also be worth it to take a look at the organization list, like the organizations, if you committee members have time, and also YLC members on that CV14 Youth Conference website, to look at their program ages, because that has been a point, is that a lot of the programs go like age 15 to 24 or 13 to 26. So maybe this is the year to update that. If anyone has time before the next meeting to, think about that, please do, or just share your thoughts throughout the month.
And then we don't have to worry about food, which is great. That's one thing we don't have to logistically plan for, which is.
We had amazing stats.
I know.
Puts young people on the call.
Chips. The apples, chips, and water, which go like hotcakes. But they're healthier than hotcakes. So, okay, so any, and again, I'm not trying to rush anyone. I just wanted to give everyone a chance to say, I think we got a few hands here. Anne, do you want to go? And then I see Joanne after that.
There are a couple of really interesting city agencies that offered opportunities, training opportunities throughout the city that perhaps we would want to invite. So they came to our meetings in committee to discuss these programs that are offered. Some of them were, there was desktop publishing, there were different programs that are available that our youth may not be aware of. And so perhaps we could look at having we could email either you and or Dwayne and or Anya directly with some of these other feedback, sort of like, let's look to target them to come, because I don't believe they were here last year or attended the event last year. Thank you. Otherwise, it sounds great. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Anne. Yeah, certainly there'll be opportunity to invite and make contact with new people to have them come and push them and really recruit them. So once that invitation letter is ready. Joanne, I think your hand is up. Yes.
Hi. So I just wanted to make a recommendation that this is a forum where we can bring in perhaps one of our experts from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene about vaccines, and just to leave some information around in this conference for the students to bring home to their parents, and perhaps, you know, I mean, they say that the oldest daughter is the one that gets the parents to get vaccinated. So perhaps we can really, you know, use this opportunity just to provide some safe information for parents if they're hesitant, not to disrupt the, excuse me, I've been sneezing, not to disrupt the whole flow of the process, but just like we have other public health officials available in the larger conference room during a face-to-face event, perhaps we can like sprinkle some COVID vaccination information in there. So that's my my spiel as the outgoing co-chair of the Human Services Committee, who feels like COVID is something we still need to address, and also as a public health person. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you very much, Joanne. We definitely, we'll sprinkle good information, hopefully not COVID, but we'll sprinkle good information. I got a kick out of the phrasing of COVID information. And honestly, we've done that before where we've had agencies do on teen dating awareness about, sexual violence and just sort of like what, peer pressure. So we've done workshops and sort of public health topics like that in the past. So that's a really good point to bring that up, especially given the context of where we are and where we still need to get, because we're not anywhere out of the woods just yet. So thank you for bringing that up, Joanne.
And I think it's also important to just add that for all of us on this call, any resources that may be beneficial to young people that you know about, highlight them, and we can try to do some outreach to them and hopefully get them registered to participate, or at least have a connection with them so that moving forward, we can share resources on the community board website.
Excellent point. Okay. So any further questions, any clarification? Because I know a lot of information went out tonight before we wrap up, because I think we're about to adjourn, because we don't have any other official items of business on the agenda for tonight. Any clarification, anything anyone wants to ask or highlight before we conclude? All right. It looks like we are good to go. You'll, of course, can always contact the office if you have any questions going forward, and you'll be getting information between now and the next meeting. So make sure you put on the calendar Thursday, April 22nd, 6:30 p.m. WebEx link to follow, and then we'll be able to continue the conversation there. Dwayne, I'll turn it to you to close out.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you to our applicants for participating and making the time to come out tonight and join us and introduce yourselves. We're excited to be working with you guys. Fresh ears, fresh eyes. It's always good. Civic engagement is critical in communities for us to function. So happy to see like someone that I think I'm old enough to be one of your parents. Oh, that's wild. But I'm really, really happy to see you guys participate tonight, and thank you for engaging. And we look forward to working with you as we move this YLC forward.
I just wanted to say thank you for this committee meeting and including us in the conversation. It's greatly appreciated, and I look forward to working with all of you in the future.
Thank you, Gabrielle. We look forward to working with you too. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for our YLC applicants for joining us tonight as well. This is a special hallmark for us here at Community Board 14. And so we're just excited to see the energy and the participation from everybody to make this happen. So, all right. Well, hearing no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. Any objections? Hearing none. All right, everyone, have a wonderful evening, and we will be in touch shortly. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night, everyone.
Ew.